Mr. Duncan, FBI Cleveland Field Office, I apologize for delaying you back. I've been out of town the last couple of weeks. I would like to set up a time to meet with your wife over at the County Justice Center.
My name is Willie Duncan, and this is my story. Back in 2020, I think December, could have been 2021, my wife was not doing well. She was experiencing some weird symptoms that we had never seen before. So we went to University Hospital to see what was going on in Cleveland on Euclid Avenue. When we get to the hospital, we signed in and told the registered nurse all the symptoms my wife was having. I told the registered nurse that I wanted to go in the back with my wife because she's not really good with words, so I wanted to explain to the doctor the symptoms that were going on. When she was called, we both got up to go back, but they told me because of COVID that only one person could go back, which kind of didn't make no sense to me, but I was like, okay, whatever. So I waited out in the lobby. About 25 minutes after waiting in the lobby, another nurse comes out and says everybody has to leave the lobby, which was about 3 people in the lobby. She said everybody has to leave. So I politely asked her, okay, when should I come back? Because my wife is here. And she said, I don't know, but you gotta leave. So I asked her if she could please go get someone who could tell me when to come back. She said, okay. So I'm sitting there. Another looks like a doctor or someone high in staff comes down, but they got a police escort with them. So she walks up to me. She says, how can I help you? And I said, I just wanted to know, because this nurse says we all have to leave, I just wanted to know when to come back because my wife is here currently being seen. And she said, just come back in about an hour. And I said, okay, thank you. And then I said, could you tell me why you have a police officer standing next to you? And then the police officer said, for no reason. And I said, okay. Now, we're in Ohio. It's a pretty racist state, so I kind of expect things like that. So I left, and I came back an hour. I came back, sat down. My wife came out maybe 15 minutes later, and she had a paper with her. I looked on the paper, and it said sinus infection. So that was kind of odd to me. I'm thinking like, she's kind of, we explained to him that she's bipolar, and she was kind of being having frozen moments. I said, that's kind of weird that they would say it's a sinus infection. But I said, okay, whatever. And we left and went home. On the ride home, my wife was saying that they kept calling her Mister. And I was wondering, like, why would they do that? So when we got home, I looked on her wristband, and University Hospital had put on her wristband that she was a man. So I'm like, okay, that's just maybe that's just the black service or whatever. That's just how it is. So as days, maybe 2 or 3 days went on, the symptoms kind of got a little worse. And I was just thinking, like, maybe this is the worst, a sinus infection can really do this to a person, maybe, and we'll just wait it out. But it turns out it wasn't a sinus infection. My wife actually had her first manic episode, and this hospital, with all its brilliance, didn't care to investigate, or, like I say, that's just the black treatment. So as time went on, it got a little worse, and one day after being up with my wife for 2 days, I fell asleep about 5 in the morning, and she had walked out the house. I woke up about 45 minutes later, so around 6 a.m., and noticed she was gone. So I got dressed and went straight to the police station. And I got to the police station. They told me that they had found a woman laying down with bruises, and they took her to University Hospital. I was, relieved, but I was wondering about these bruises. So I went straight to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, a nurse came out and told me, that my wife, she wasn't in the right state of mind, but she had bruises. So until they figured out what was going on, I wasn't allowed to see her. So once again, I'm grateful that she's found and she's okay. And I'm also understanding that because she has these bruises, I can't see her. So I'm wondering, driving home, wondering, did anything happen to her when she left here? How did she get these bruises? So I drive back to the police station, and I go in the police station and I ask them, I said, well, can I have an incident report of, what happened? So the one officer, he talks to another officer in the back and comes back and says, the fire department handled this situation. We didn't handle it. So you have to go over to the fire department. So I walked over to the fire department, which is next door, and I asked them, I said, can I get an incident report of what happened with my wife? One of the fire people, he goes in the back, comes back, he said, I can't give you that report right now because it's being looked at internally. So I'm like, okay, this is more of this corruption that I'm used to in Ohio with everything. So I go back and to the police station. I said, well, I want to file a complaint. I said, I'm a former officer of Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, and the one thing I know that they always taught us in training is if you don't write it down, it didn't happen. So if you found a naked woman with bruises, somebody should have took a report, made an incident report, or documented something. And you guys in the fire department are telling me you don't have anything and you can't supply me with anything. So I like to file a complaint. So I guess that complaint made it to file 13 because I never got a response. And truthfully, I wasn't expecting a response. This is truly the most corrupt state in America. So I go back home and I'm out in the front yard for a second and I see the mayor coming down the street. I know his truck. He comes down the street and he looks at me and he's got the meanest look. I mean, you can imagine, almost like a gang or something rolling down on you or something, like Boys in the Hood or something. So I'm looking back at him like, what is he mean mugging me for? So, all this stuff going through my mind, I just say to myself, I just say, God, just work this out. So the next day I get a call from social services and they said they got an anonymous call from somebody of domestic violence in my house. I said, that's ridiculous. I said, I don't put my hands on women. I never have. I said, I don't do that. I said, but I understood because she had these bruises, like I say, at the hospital. So I understood the kind of process, but I was still not, trying to be involved with some BS. So I got off the phone with them. The next day, now I'm thinking in my mind when I got off the phone, like, who made this anonymous call? The mayor just came down here and mean mugging me. I'm up there trying to investigate what's going on. So all this is going through my head. So the next day, I'm outside. One of my friends come over, and I explain to him what happened. So they tell me that one of their friends had showed them a videotape of a woman being slammed by the police. And I'm like, you joking, right? And she's like, no. I said, call that person right now. She calls the guy. He comes over with the video, shows it to me, and I'm just like in disbelief. I'm like, these goddamn police, crooked ass cops done lied to me about what happened. Now keep in mind, the hospital isn't letting me see my wife because she got these bruises that were caused by the police. This hospital ended up basically kidnapping my wife and transferred her to another facility without notifying me or any of her family where she was going. I basically had to bribe one of the nurses to get information of where she was at. So back to the video, I get the video off the guy's phone, downloaded to my laptop. So I got the video, and I'm just in disbelief. So then I get another call from a social worker who says he's investigating domestic violence. So I told him, I said, well, guess what? I'm investigating violence too. I said, I just got a video of the police slamming my wife, and that's how she got these scrapes and bruises on her legs. So he says, send me that video. So I had put it on YouTube, so I sent him the link. About an hour later, he texts me back and says, investigating the police is above my pay grade. So at that point, I take a deep breath and realize I'm about to be framed for something that the police did in this crooked ass state. So I tell this social worker, cease and desist from all contact with me. Don't contact me anymore without a court order. The next day, this guy, he goes against what I said, and he comes over to my house with another individual who never identified himself, didn't have any identification on, and they both tried to block me from coming in my house. We almost had a problem. I had some words. They ended up stepping back down and allowing me to come into my house. I ended up filing a lawsuit against this social worker. The county fired this social worker, but after firing him, they gave him a taxpayer lawyer, and the lawyer in court asked for qualified immunity. This is the corruption I'm talking about. This is how crooked the state of Ohio is. Okay? So, I get contacted by the FBI. They want to know what happened. So, I'm like, okay, great. Finally, maybe some justice of this situation going on. So I go downtown to the Cleveland FBI branch. I think that's off of Lakeside. I go downtown and I tell them the story of what happened and everything. And they're like, we're going to investigate. But you know how when you're talking to somebody and you know they got something on their mind when you're talking to them, that's the kind of vibe I was getting. So I'm telling them, and they say we're going to investigate. And then they start asking me questions about the mayor. I told him, what I know and about his family and everything. And I told him, he has a brother who's known, to be a dealer. So they asked me, do I have access to the inside of his house? So I said, I can probably get somebody in there, in the house. Long story short, an attempt was made. Someone was sent over there. The But at the time this happened, and if you ask the mayor's brother, he'll know what I'm talking about. The mayor's brother must have had his intuition hat on because he sensed something was fishy with the gentleman that went over there to purchase drugs. He ends up punching the guy in the face, and so it didn't go off good. Okay. I was also then asked to find out all of the properties that another brother owns in East Cleveland. The FBI told me that if they can link that the mayor was using his political office to help his family gain properties in East Cleveland, that they could build a case off of that. So they asked me to go find out, and I'm thinking like, wouldn't y'all know what properties he owned more? But I think I remember them saying he might have them in different kind of like business names or whatever. So they asked me to go find out all the properties that I knew that were in their family, that I could find out that were in their family. So I once again recruited about 2 or 3 people, and we went around all the East Cleveland, and I wrote down all the properties that these people told me that he owned, because I only knew him to own 2 or 3 properties on the street I was living on. But I come to find out he owns a lot more from the information that we were able to gather. I got that information together, and I reported it back to the contact, my FBI contact. And they were basically like, good job, or whatever. So while I'm doing this, and I'm, risking my life, I'm risking other people's life for the FBI, I'm thinking in my mind, well, they're going to get my wife justice, so I'm going to do this for them. At the same time, now, social services is on me. They go to East Cleveland City Schools, and they tell me that East Cleveland says my son has never been registered with them, when he has been registered with them for the last 4 years at that time, or 3 or 4 years. I got the paperwork with their insignia stamp that was mailed to me every year. So when they tell me this, that East Cleveland said they had no record of my son ever being there, I'm thinking, okay, this is part of the framing that they're going to try to, this is a corrupt state. They're going to try to lie and frame me and take me out some kind of way. So I gave the social worker the paperwork of all the signed, stamp, insignia work that I got back from the school. So she then takes it to the school, and I guess they're dumbfounded when she takes them the paperwork. So she realizes that they've either lost my son's records or something. This is all on audio, video, on YouTube. Okay, so I'm thinking, okay, I'm straight now. But Social Services, Cuyahoga County, actually filed a claim knowing that it was a lie. They filed a claim that my son hadn't been in school. They knew that was a lie, but they filed it anyway. Not only did they file that lie, but they also told the court that I had been hallucinating working with the FBI. Another lie. As I'm in court, the judge never lets me speak, never lets my wife speak. And she orders me to have a psychic evaluation because she says that she believes what Social Services says, that I made up the claim about working with the FBI. So at this point, East Cleveland Police starts now to turn up the heat on me. They come. Now, I've got 6 neighbors who we all park in the yard because the city of East Cleveland can't afford street lights. So all of our cars were getting hit at night. So for the last 2 years, we just start parking in the yards. East Cleveland Police comes over to my house and they tow my car out the yard. After they see me outside, they just tow my car. So as my car is getting towed, I come outside and I'm like, what's going on? And that's on YouTube too. You can check it out. So I contact the FBI, tell them, I say, hey man, my car's been towed. I had a USB disc in there that had some of the work I was doing for you guys on it in the car. I said, they towed my car. And then I let my contact know that Social Services is also saying that I'm exaggerating working with you all. I get ghosted by the FBI. They ghost me. They just left me hanging. And I'm thinking, what the hell? I'm like, how they gonna be foul like that? I said, I'm out here risking my life for the United States government. I'm risking other people's life, and they just gonna leave me hanging like that? I'm like, oh my God. I said, I know all these other agencies are corrupt, but is the FBI is corrupt too? What the hell is going on? I go back, when they towed my car, I go back to try to get my car out the impound. When I get it back, I'm going through the car because I know how East Cleveland is corrupt and dirty. I'm going through the car and I find a spent AK-47 shell in my trunk. I honestly believe they were going to pull me over and try to frame me and have me locked up for some time for this shell in my trunk. That's the way it is here. So, because of a timing glitch, the case gets dropped against me in Social Services in court. They then try to refile, but because I'm a free man and my lawyer tells me I can leave the state. So that's what I chose to do. I left. Fast forward to now, I decide to come back. They show up at where my new residence and say they got an anonymous call again on me. They follow that up with saying my son isn't registered for school. He is registered through Cleveland City Schools. But they once again get another Cuyahoga County judge to believe that lie, and the judge approves the case on me. The state of Ohio is one of the most corrupt places in the world. Don't move here. I just want to say to the FBI, how could you be that scandalous? How could you have me risking my life, risking other people's life, risking my family's life for you guys? After you promised us, you looked in my wife's eyes and you promised us justice. How could you be that foul? Why did you do us dirty like that? We already don't have faith in these other agencies. Why did you do us like that? Is it because we're black? I'm just wondering. Why did you do that to us? Why did you leave me hanging like that? That was foul. That was foul as hell. So you see that this is crazy.
That's what they told me, and then I said, well, Marcel, ask the parents to see if they have any record, and then you sent him that paperwork, and I said, well, they have to have some knowledge of this student because he has this letter.
Right.
And then when I called back and I said, well,
So
You have to have some knowledge of him because Dad provided us a copy of his letter where you guys are saying that he's been accepted as a homeschool
Right.
student.
So like I just showed you that he was registered.
I seen it.
The school district said he ain't. East Cleveland said he ain't.
I seen it.
Who doing that?
Yeah.
Who making this stuff disappear?
Right.
Okay. When you saw me pull up, walk up. No, I'm just talking. I'm just talking.
Okay, go
When
ahead.
you saw me pull up, you saw me with the stuff in my hand, right? So I was trying to change the oil.
I don't care who walks in what house. I don't know who house you're going to. That's not my issue with the car on the front lawn, and I did my job.
But you could have just said something to me.
I don't know if it's your car.
Wow,
Have a great day, sir.
that's awesome.
All right.
You
Bye.
couldn't say nothing, huh? It was Monday. I went over my friend's house after I got my car out the impound, and he asked if he could use the jack. Now, I never took the jack out the car, brand new car. He asked if he could use it. That must have been God. So I we lifted the thing up, and looking at the jack, it was brand new, tire brand new. And it was a spent AK-47 shell next to the tire. I wasn't even thinking at the moment. I had just got the car out the impound. So I had took the shell and I had threw it.